Of all the Kamala Harrises in the world, Kamala Harris is the Kamala Harriest. I don't even know if that's the thing. This interview, man, I know why Donald Trump sued. Donald Trump didn't sue for the money, although the money's going to come in handy. Like I said, Donald Trump's going to have, by the time CBS settles this lawsuit, Donald Trump's going to have the most fully, his library is going to be fully funded. It's going to be fully funded, and it's going to be incredible. He's going to have millions and millions of dollars to spend on what is going to be probably the best and the biggest and the boldest and the brightest and the most amazing presidential library anyone has ever seen. Even more so than Ronald Reagan, which has the full-size Air Force One right there in the main hall. Like, you go there, if you ever watch any of whenever they do the debates at the Ronald Reagan Library, it's right there in front of Air Force One. There was a famous one again with Donald Trump with Jeb Bush and all that. But anyway, that's going to be dwarfed by Donald Trump because of all this money he's getting from all of these TV news agencies that hate him, that have been trying to bury him, and now they're going to be the ones paying for his legacy. Because CBS, after the FCC released this interview, man, CBS, they're going to have to pony up some cash. And Kamala Harris, she's got to be just beyond frustrated, beyond embarrassed. I've got some of the clips from this interview, and I'll bring them to you. I'll bring them to you here in just a minute. Plus, the left is still losing their minds. They're still losing their minds over the USAID and how all of their dastardly deeds, which I know is something they've accused Donald Trump of, all of their dastardly deeds are coming out into the open. And it's really mind-blowing to see all these people complaining about it. All these leftists complaining about it, because really, and this is something that you have to keep in mind, whenever you see anybody on the internet or on Twitter or on television, whenever you see an elected official outside of the Capitol building screaming and yelling about the USAID and about Elon Musk and about Donald Trump and all this stuff, it's because they're losing money. It's because they just got fired. They just had their cash cow slaughtered. These people now have to go out and try to find a real job. They're no longer suckling at the teat of the American taxpayer. They're no longer like raiding the hen house. These people now have to figure out a way to get money. Politico, for one, Ben Stiller, we found out, got $4 million. Angelina Jolie, all these people. It's insane, the amount of grift and the amount of corruption and the amount of ridiculousness has been going around, all because of this USAID. And there's one girl who, I don't know who she is, but Elon Musk retweeted her, and she had a great reaction to it, and I'll share that with you here in just a minute as well. So we've got, like I said, we've got so much to cover today, and we've got very little time to do it in, because not only are we going to be doing the show, but after the show, after the party is the after party. And our after party has been going, I'll be honest with you, I've really enjoyed them. So far, so good. Yesterday's after party almost doubled the length of the show. We talked about all kinds of behind the scenes stuff. We took a bunch of questions. People were chit-chatting in the comments, and it was really so much fun. If you enjoy this show, you're really going to love the after party, but you do have to be a supporter. It's a supporters only perk. And, that's the thing. Like, some people go out there and they just beg for money. They're like, please give me money. I'm not one of those. I'm like, if you can support me, that's great. I'll give you some stuff for free. Well, not for free, in exchange. It's like, that's a capitalism in me. The capitalist in me. If you support the show, great. We're going to continue to give you the show. But on top of that, we're going to give our supporters some free stickers, for example. We're going to give you massive discounts at the Mark Kaye shop. And we're going to give you exclusive access to the extended show, the after party, which happens again today, right after the show. In the meantime, thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to hit the like button, the share button, set those notifications. If you're listening on any of our podcast platforms, you know what to do. You know what to do, folks. All you got to do is hit that follow button so that you get the podcast every single day. And by the way, I think I told you this yesterday. We have 2 podcasts now in the top 200, which some people don't even have 1 podcast in the top 200, and we've got 2. So pat yourself on the back for not only the Mark Kaye Saves the Republic podcast, but the 47 Daily podcast, which is also climbing the charts every single day as we give you your daily dose of news and info direct from the White House, direct from Donald Trump. It's I got a bunch of things going on. It's direct from the White House to my mouth to your ears for the next 4 years. That's our motto, and that's something we're going to stick with. All right, before we get to the Gosh, before we get to the Kamala Harris stuff, I guess we should talk about Donald Trump again. Very busy guy. We've got the USA AID stuff going on. We've got stuff in Gaza that he's still, this whole Gaza thing has really thrown everybody for a loop. And there's already a lot of misinformation about the Gaza situation. When Donald Trump came out the other day and he said, hey, guess what? The United States is going to take over Gaza. We're going to clear out all the Palestinians. We're going to level it, and then we're going to rebuild. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be the best place ever. It's going to be the Riviera of the Middle East. When he said that, all of a sudden, the machine, the propagandists, the media, the leftists, the Democrats, the anti-Trump contingent in the government, all of a sudden, all these people went to work and they started coming up with these lies and these mistruths. And they started telling everybody Donald Trump just said that we're going to invade Gaza. Donald Trump just committed troops to Gaza. Donald Trump is going to start an extended war in Gaza. And that is not at all. That's not at all what Donald Trump said. And I know that's not what Donald Trump said at all because I follow Donald Trump on Truth Social. And if you follow Donald Trump on Truth Social, you can see exactly what Donald Trump says about pretty much anything. And he never once said, I'm committing troops to Gaza. He never once said, we're going to get into an extended war with Gaza. In fact, here's exactly what he said on Truth Social this morning. President Trump said the Gaza Strip would be turned over to the United States by Israel at the conclusion of fighting. The Palestinians, people like Chuck Schumer, which just made me laugh out loud. The Palestinians, people like Chuck Schumer, would have already been resettled in far safer and more beautiful communities with new and modern homes in the region. They would actually have a chance to be happy, safe, and free. The U.S., working with great development teams from all over the world, would slowly and carefully begin the construction of what would become one of the greatest and most spectacular developments of its kind on Earth. No soldiers by the U.S. would be needed. Stability for the region would reign. So Donald Trump never once said, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to invade Gaza. We're going to send our military there. We're going to send your sons and daughters into the Middle East to fight and throw out 2 million Palestinians and put them right in the way of Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran and everyone else. That's not at all what he said. But that's not, the media, they hear their own thing. In fact, Caroline Levitt yesterday gave a really great answer to a really ridiculous question from one of the reporters in her press briefing about Donald Trump's announcement about Gaza.
On Gaza, the president has spent basically his entire public career criticizing foreign entanglements, nation building, sending American troops to fight abroad, particularly in the Middle East. This plan seems like it could ultimately involve all of those things. Can you explain this reversal and how building and owning Gaza squares with America First foreign policy?
I would reject the premise of your question that this forces the United States to be entangled in conflicts abroad. The president has not committed to putting boots on the ground in Gaza. He has also said that the United States is not going to pay for the rebuilding of Gaza. His administration is going to work with our partners in the region to reconstruct this region. And let me just take a step back here, because this is an out-of-the-box idea. That's who President Trump is. That's why the American people elected him. And his goal is lasting peace in the Middle East for all people in the region. And as I said in my opening remarks, we've had the same people pushing the same solutions to this problem for decades. And it's been made very clear to the president that the United States needs to be involved in this rebuilding effort to ensure stability in the region for all people. But that does not mean boots on the ground in Gaza. It does not mean American taxpayers will be funding this effort. It means Donald Trump, who is the best deal maker on the planet, is going to strike a deal with our partners in the region.
And that's the most intelligent way to do it. I mean, look, when Donald Trump says we're going to take over Gaza, he doesn't mean we're going to take over Gaza. Israel's going to give it to us. And then once we have Gaza, Donald Trump's going to go out there and he's going to go to Saudi Arabia. He's going to go to Dubai. He's going to go to Jordan. He's going to go to Egypt. He's going to be like, hey, guys, I got a great idea. Let's all rebuild Gaza. Because if you have everybody in the region work together to rebuild Gaza with Israel, then it's going to be safe and secure. Nobody's going to invest in a region and then invest in a destructive force like Hezbollah or Hamas to bomb the crap out of it. If you have Egypt and Jordan and Israel and Saudi Arabia and all these other countries in the Middle East having some kind of ownership stake in New Gaza, in, the Gaza Riviera or Gaza America or whatever you want to call it, if you have that, then you're going to have this, protective bubble basically over the entire area Because again, if you spend money on it, you're going to want to protect it. And you're not going to funnel money to destructive terrorist organizations who are looking to destroy it. It makes perfect sense to me. It makes perfect sense to Donald Trump. It makes perfect sense to a lot of people. A lot of people are starting to come around to it. But the Democrats and everyone else, all the jaw-dropping naysayers that just immediately say no, 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 are saying, no, 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 no. Mike Waltz, by the way, came up with another really interesting take on this. And this is something also that this is something Donald Trump has done multiple times in the past and is famous for. And people often forget it or disregard it. But really, when Donald Trump comes up with an idea that everyone thinks is so out of reach, so far-fetched, so ridiculous, so impossible, they start so undesirable by so many people, then they start going, whoa, 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 we can't let Donald Trump do that. And then they come up with some other alternative idea. And that's what Mike Waltz says could be happening here.
I mean, you have literally nearly 2 million people living in a place that has thousands and thousands of unexploded ordnance and bombs. It's in some places like a minefield. You have buildings that are collapsing and unsafe. You have no sewage, no running water. It has become completely unlivable with this war that Hamas started on October 7th. And I, as a veteran, can tell you it is despicable and sad that groups like Hamas, Al-Qaeda, ISIS literally sacrifice the lives and the livelihoods of their own people to achieve some type of ideological gain. But I think what the president is just acknowledging is we've been looking at this over the last weeks and months, and frankly, he's been thinking about it since October 7th, and that war is, you know, everybody's heart breaks for the Palestinian people across the region, and rightly so, but he's not seeing any realistic solutions on how those miles and miles and miles of debris are going to be cleared, how those, you know, essentially unexploded bombs are going to be removed, how these people are physically going to live for the at least a decade, if not longer, it's going to take to do this. So the fact that nobody has a realistic solution, and he puts some very bold, fresh, new ideas out on the table, I don't think should be criticized in any way. I think it's going to bring the entire region to come with their own solutions.
It's kind of like when you go out to dinner, right? And somebody's like, where are we going to dinner? And everyone goes, I don't know what we should eat. And then someone goes, you know what? I want sushi. And then somebody else goes, no, I don't want sushi. We just had sushi yesterday. And they go, all right, well, you come up with something else. Otherwise, we're getting sushi. And then they go, okay, Mexican. Or someone else goes, no, how about we get ramen? You know, whatever. Everyone starts throwing ideas out there. Nobody's had a good idea. Nobody knows where we're going to go to dinner in Gaza. Well, but first of all the restaurants have been blown to smithereens. But they're like, where are we going to go to dinner? And Donald Trump goes, here's what we're going to do. We're not going to go to dinner. I'm going to build a massive outdoor kitchen, and I'm going to make a steak and lobster. And I don't care if you have any kind of religious, I don't care if you're like, I don't eat crayfish or crawfish. I don't care if you have any allergies. I'm cooking dinner. You're going to eat it. And everyone's like, no, I don't like any of that stuff. All right, fine. We'll come up with an idea on our own. That's another thing that could potentially be happening here. But what Donald Trump did not do was ever commit American lives, American soldiers, and American assets on the ground in Gaza. There'll be American investment, but that's a totally different scenario. All right. Speaking of a totally different scenario, let's talk a little bit about Kamala Harris, shall we? Kamala Harris, I guess she thought maybe her time in the limelight was over. I guess she thought maybe the embarrassing ridicule of her word salad and lack of ability to speak clearly was over. I guess she thought, in a way, I know she was upset. She was despondent. She was frustrated with the fact that she lost her election. I know she thought she had a snowball's chance in AG hockey sticks against Donald Trump. We all know that wasn't true. She had no chance whatsoever. You got no chance, Kamala. Come on. I mean, and it doesn't matter. It made for some entertaining podcasts for several months during the election. But Kamala Harris, now her whole, everything about her, everything that I guess people had forgotten about or that we hadn't talked about in a while, her inability to think, period. Now, I was going to say clearly, but then I was just like, period probably goes there. Her inability to articulate thoughts, her lack of knowledge of current events, she was the border czar, and she just, when she was asked a question by CBS about the border, was totally flustered by it. And this whole interview where CBS tried to help her, tried to help her election situation. They tried to make some kind of, really, I mean, you could look at it as election interference, which is how Donald Trump and a lot of other people are looking at it. I'm sure other people are saying it's an in-kind donation to the Kamala Harris campaign. Either way, I just look at it as fraud. CBS, they recorded this interview. They were editing it. The Kamala Harris people or the Democrat Party or Barack Obama or somebody called up and said, you cannot put this woman on the air the way she was. You have to do something. You have to edit her. You have to make her sound smarter than she is. And the people at CBS were probably like, I mean, we're not miracle workers. This isn't AI. You know, we actually record an interview. We got to go with what we got. We got to go with. And then someone was like, just move her answers around. Anyway, it became a whole big thing. They flubbed it because they promoted one thing and the opposite was true. Donald Trump brought a lawsuit, which it looks like, again, CBS is going to have to settle. And in the meantime, the FCC got involved because CBS is a broadcast network. CBS is licensed by the Federal Communications Company, the Federal Communications Committee. Thank you. And it's something I know a little bit about other than their name, obviously. But the FCC, they got involved and they said, look, we're going to need the complete, not transcript, we're going to need the complete recording of the interview. We're going to need the complete tape. We want to see it all of it, every ugly last bit of it. And unfortunately for Kamala Harris, it's now out there and we watched it and man, it just brought back all of the things, didn't it? This was the question, by the way, that it was a question about Netanyahu. And this is the question that they cleaned up. And you can hear this is the actual answer Kamala Harris gave to the question about Netanyahu not being a good partner or ally to the United States of America when it comes to fighting terrorism in the Middle East.
The Wall Street Journal said that that your administration has repeatedly been blindsided by Netanyahu. And in fact, he has rebuffed just about all of your administration's entreaties.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region. And we're not going to stop doing that. We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Wow, that's great because I'm I have no clarity onto the need as to or what you feel you need for this war to end. Zero clarity at all from that answer. Well, you know, the work that we have done has resulted in some things that will have been, and we have a need to rely on the sources and look at where we are, and to get this war to end, we need to end the war to where it was, to where it shall be. That's true Kamala. That is Kamala gold right there. And CBS was like, I don't think that's gonna cut it. We're gonna have to figure out something else. There was a question about the border. This was one of my favorites. Remember, Kamala Harris was the border czar until she wasn't the border czar. Kamala Harris was the border czar until the border became an issue. And then they were like, wow, she's not the border czar anymore. We never called her the border czar. That's a lie. We would never put this woman in charge of anything important like the southern border. But Bill, what's his name, asked about the border and said, look, why is it that over the last 4 years, your border policies have just failed so miserably?
So we do need to move on because our time is short, but I'm trying to understand how it is that with this emphasis on the border, the numbers of crossings quadrupled under the first 3 years of the Biden-Harris administration. How did that happen?
There are a variety of factors that relate to what we have seen globally and what we are not immune from at our own border in terms of what we have seen in terms of surge of immigration and irregular migration. And there are solutions at hand, but we've got to have leaders who are solution-oriented, which we've been and are, and I am going forward, instead of leaders who want to make it a problem they can run on.
Okay, so what Kamala Harris did was she started answering the question with absolutely no clue as to why I mean, he's like, look, if you've got all of this focus on the border and you've got all these policies for the border and you're telling us, look, the border is what we've got all these things that we're doing at the border. If that's the case, if that's the truth, then why is it that the border's a mess? And why is it that border crossings have quadrupled under your watch? And she has no answer. So she starts doing the whole, there's a variety of factors globally, and we're not immune here domestically to the problems and mitigations of immigration, blah. And then she realizes, she starts talking in a way that proves, then she goes, and we need leaders who are solution oriented, which we're all thinking, yes, we do. Then she catches herself and goes, which, by the way, we are those, and I am, and I will, I will continue. What the hell did she say?
We've got to have leaders who are solution oriented, which we've been and are, and I am going forward.
We need leaders who are solution oriented, who will be which we have been and are, and what I will be going forward. That's perfect. That's totally believable. That's totally, but you're solution oriented, but yet border crossings have quadrupled. You're solution oriented, but yet we've never seen this much crime and illegal drugs and illegal gang members. You're solution oriented, but yet there's Tren de Aragua gang members who are taking over apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado. You're solution oriented, but we've got Haitian immigrants eating the dogs and eating the cats and eating the pets of the people who live in Springfield, Ohio. You're solution oriented, which you have been and will continue to be, and you will be moving forward.
So we do need to move on because our time is short, but I'm trying to understand how it is that with this emphasis on the border, the numbers of crossings quadrupled under the first 3 years of the Biden-Harris administration. How did that happen?
There are a variety of factors that relate to what we have seen globally and what we are not immune from at our own border in terms of what we have seen in terms of surge of immigration and irregular migration. And there are solutions at hand, but we've got to have leaders who are solution oriented, which we've been and are, and I am going forward, instead of leaders who want to make it a problem they can run on.
That's Donald Trump, by the way. She said Donald Trump just wants the border to be bad so he can run on it. He doesn't have any solutions. He doesn't want to fix the problem. He just wants to win the presidency. So if we have a border crisis, if he gets senators to vote down this ridiculous border bill, which wasn't a border bill at all, just funneled more money to Ukraine, if he can do that, then he can run on the border issue, and he doesn't want to solve it. Oh, yeah? Here's the chief of the Border Patrol talking about how Donald Trump basically solved the border crisis.
So look, the U.S. Border Patrol, we know how to get the job done. We know how to secure the border. All we needed was a president that was going to empower us, a strong leader like President Trump, and then a secretary like Secretary Noem that knows exactly what we need to do to secure the border. We're seeing almost a 90% decrease in illegal entries since January the 21st. Not only that, but our criminal prosecutions of those we're apprehending is up almost 52%. You talked about, you led in with the Tren de Agua. Our U.S. Border Patrol BORTAC unit is out there with ICE making those arrests. And so, look, Border Patrol knows how to secure the border. All we needed was an administration that would let us enforce the law. And we're out there, and we are seeing phenomenal gains on the border.
90% decrease in border crossings. 90% in 17 days. Donald Trump's been president since January 20th. It's February 6th. That's 17 days. Yeah, 17 days because there's 31 days in January. And it's 90% decrease in border crossings, 52% increase in prosecutions. And then they ship them off. They either ship them back home or they ship them to Gitmo. Either way, they're shipping them out of the United States of America. And guess what? That's a solution-oriented leader. I don't know what Kamala's solutions were, but Donald Trump putting Tom Homan in front of ICE, in charge of ICE, and saying, go get him. Donald Trump putting Kristi Noem in charge of the Department of Homeland Security. Donald Trump saying, do whatever you need to do to get this done. Now he's got Pam Bondi in a position of power at the Justice Department. I mean, you've got troops at the border under the guidance of Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense. It seems like Kamala Harris may have actually been right, that we just needed a solution-oriented leader.
We've got to have leaders who are solution-oriented.
And luckily we have one now, thanks to the election of 2024, which she lost. That's not even it, though. There's more. There's more. There was another question about why she wanted to be president. This is like the basic question, like whenever if you're ever going for a job interview or, my kids are, in the college project, all the college, they're like, why do you want to go to school here? Why do you want to do this? If you want to know what makes you want to work at this particular establishment, why do you think you'd be a good fit? I was watching Severance and the guy was trying to go work at a door company and he was like, oh, I've always loved doors. And the guy goes, oh yeah? What is it about doors that you love that makes you think you'd want to sell them? Tell me when you first fell in love with doors. It was the spoiler alert, by the way, if you don't watch Severance, he doesn't get the job. But anyway, it's the first question. And Bill goes, look, why do you want to be president of the United States? And again, this was not the beginning of her campaign. This was in the middle. Kamala Harris has no clear, decisive, thought, but answer to the simplest of questions. Why do you, Kamala Harris, wish to be president of the United States? Why should anybody walk into the voting booth on November 5th or mail in the early ballot or early voting, whatever it is? Why should they go in and pick you over Donald Trump? Here's what she said.
Most basic of questions. Why do you want to be president of the United States?
There are many reasons, but probably first and foremost, I truly believe in the promise of America. I do. And I love the American people. We are a people who have ambition and aspirations and dreams and optimism and hope. If you look at the character of who we are and how we have achieved the strength that we have achieved, I believe in large part it is because of our character and our belief in the promise of America. And I'm running for president because I want to do everything that is possible to create an opportunity for people to achieve those goals, those ambitions, and those dreams. And that is why you will hear me talk about my plan for an opportunity economy, to invest in what we can do, not only to bring the cost of living and prices down for folks, because even though we've achieved a lot of success, prices are still too high. You know it, I know it. But what we can do to invest in the innovation that is happening in startups and our small businesses, what we can do to invest in the industries of the future, what we can do to maintain America's strength in the global context.
I'd like to point out, by the way, that Donald Trump, within 48 hours of becoming president, secured over $1 trillion in technological and infrastructure investment. He got a $500 billion investment for AI from Larry Ellison and Sam Altman and Masa Yasashumi. I think that's right. Then he went to Saudi Arabia, he got another $600 billion. He got over $1 trillion within 2 days. All for strategic investment in technological advances and infrastructure. I think we got the leadership that we need. I don't know that anybody would invest that kind of money in the United States of America if Kamala Harris were president. In fact, I know the opposite would be true because Masa Yasashumi came over here and said, my family and I have been waiting 4 long years to invest billions of dollars in the United States because we knew that if we invested while Joe Biden were here, it'd be flushing the money down the toilet. It'd be burning it in a big bonfire. It would be the end of my family and their fortune. Now that Donald Trump's back, everyone wants to bring their money to the United States of America. Everybody's all like, yay, America, let's make more money. More money, less problems. That should have been Donald Trump's campaign slogan, although that's a Diddy song, and Diddy's maybe you may want to, Diddy's been canceled. Probably the most explosive part of the interview came at the end when they said the cameras weren't rolling anymore, but they were. They asked Kamala Harris, how are you going to pay for this whole thing? You've got all these big, bold ideas. You've got to do this. You want to do that. You want to bring down prices. You want to pay for all everyone's school. You're spending all this money on these social justice programs, but how are you going to get the money? Where's it going to come from? Congress isn't going to give it to you. And she came off with some big flowery answer about, this, and it was all more word salad. But when the cameras were off, she was finally honest. When the cameras were off, they caught Kamala Harris giving an honest answer as to where she and her Democrat cronies were going to get the hundreds of millions of dollars they needed to pay for everybody's social justice crap. Here she is, totally exposed by the FCC.
Cameras are off.
How will you?
It's going to be taxes. It's going to, I mean, they're from each the spectrum.
But I hear what you're saying
Yeah.
about the economists. This is true.
Yeah.
But
It's gonna be taxes. How will you pay for it? It's gonna be taxes.
Cameras are off.
how will you?
It's going to be taxes.
It's going to be taxes. That's it. That's all it is. That's all it is with the Democrats. It's always taxes. She sat there and she lied to 60 Minutes for an hour. She sat there and lied and said, we're going to get investment in technology. We're going to get investment in the future. We need to make sure we maintain our stranglehold as the premier world power when it comes to economic dominance and technological advancement. We're going to get all. And then at the end, he goes, wait, how are you really going to pay for this stuff? She goes, taxes. We're going to tax people out the wazoo. And I love the fact that the guy goes, cameras stopped rolling when clearly they didn't.
Cameras are off.
How will you?
It's going to be taxes.
Cameras are off. Okay, great. How will you? The cameras aren't off. I'm literally staring at the camera. I'm listening. Thank God that the cameras weren't actually off, so that we have that evidence now. And this is why CBS is toast. This is why CBS is cooked. CBS is going to be ponying up millions and millions of dollars to the Donald Trump, presidential library. They're going to be paying Donald Trump's legal bills once again. And the FCC may have to take action on some of their licenses because of the way they tried to pull the wool over the American people's eyes by pretending Kamala Harris had any ounce of qualification to be president. None. The ultimate DEI hire, the DEI VP. She should have been nowhere near the vice presidential office, let alone the office of the presidency of the United States of America. And thank God, she was not. We'll get to more of that. We'll get to more of that here in just a second. I did want to talk about, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on with the USAID and the CIA and Elon Musk. Elon Musk basically, again, has become public enemy number one. And the Democrats, every single day, some new Democrat loses their mind, just loses their mind. Yesterday, I told you how it was Chuck Schumer and Maxine Waters and gosh, who was it? Al Green. They all were just crazy yesterday. It was what's her name? Was screaming and yelling about taking over Newark. Oh, a Representative MacGyver. Shut down the city! That was really loud. I apologize if it scared anybody. Shut down the city. And then you had what's his name? Chuck Schumer was going to say he's not going to rest.
We won't rest. We won't rest. We won't rest.
Yeah. And then he went to take a nap. And now today, you've got even more. Today, it's Cory Booker. And Cory Booker is now he's steaming mad about Elon Musk cutting government waste, which is really weird. Think about it. Elon Musk is cutting government waste, cutting all of these payouts and all these ridiculous expenditures that God knows why we're spending all this money on this stuff. And Cory Booker's mad about it.
This must be a coalition that grows and grows and grows. There can be no bystanders in this fight. It is time that we understand the only thing necessary for wrong to triumph is for right to do nothing, for right to be silent. And so understand this. There are legislators walking through here, but these are the ways we're going to fight.
These are the ways everybody's got to get up and stand up and come here and fight. There's this girl who Elon Musk retweeted. I don't know who she is. She was a TikToker or something. And she just went on a profanity-laden tirade about how horrible the Democrats are. And I found somebody edited it, so I appreciate that. And I'm going to play that. This is, I don't know who this girl is. I don't know where she came from, but she explains the situation with the Democrats perfectly. And I believe this has been totally bleeped out.
I keep waiting and waiting and waiting for Democrats to start redeeming themselves, and every single time I turn around, they make it worse. Just 100%, no turnabout rate, nothing. It is just going downhill for the Democrats, dude. Can you please tell me, if someone, robbed a bank, okay, let's talk about a hypothetical before we get into the real shit real quick. If someone robbed a bank, someone watched the security footage, saw who robbed the bank, told you who robbed the bank, you caught who robbed the bank, are you gonna be mad at the person that robbed the bank or the person that told you were being robbed? Okay, that's what's going on with Elon Musk right now.
Okay, so there was one word he heard that he meant. Yeah, that's exactly it. The bank is being robbed, and then somebody calls and says the bank's being robbed, and the Democrats are screaming and yelling at the person on the phone calling the cops and telling everybody the bank is being robbed. Why is that? Well, obviously, they're getting a little kickback from the bank robbers. That's exactly what's happening. That's the perfect way to describe it. Elon Musk should be a hero. Elon Musk should be getting his own day. He should be getting praise. He should be getting the keys to all kinds of cities. He should be getting, honorary awards. He should be getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Whatever it is Elon Musk wants, he should probably get. Because what Elon Musk is doing is he's exposing corruption. He's exposing waste. He's exposing expenditures. He's exposing the fact that Democrats, so many Democrats have been milking you and me to the tune of millions and millions of dollars over the past decade more. Bill and Hillary Clinton. This is from the U.S. This is from, I forget where. Look at this. This is Bill and Hillary Clinton and Chelsea Clinton over here. Gross receipts, $83 million. $83 million to Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton. Their EIN number is there. Their gross receipts, contributions, grants, taxpayer funds, everything that these people got from the USAID, from the federal government is there. Now, what do you think Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton are doing that requires the federal government to grant them $84 million? What possible benefit to the United States of America and her citizens could Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton be offering that is just that valuable to the United States of America and their taxpayers? I don't believe. I'm going to be honest. I mean, I've thought about it. They didn't do anything when they had power. When they were in the presidency, when Bill and Hillary were president, and I put them together because they kind of were president together. When that happened, there was nothing they didn't do that wasn't for themselves. Whether it was the Whitewater scandal, whether it was renting out the Lincoln bedroom, all that kind of stuff. The Democrats get money from the United States of America, from the taxpayers, for ridiculous things, and they look at it as their right, their duty. We're doing all these great things. We need to get some money. It's a Ponzi scheme, if you will. It's a corrupt system. Ben Stiller, Gaylord Fokker went to Ukraine. And a lot of people thought he went to Ukraine because he's a good guy. He went to Ukraine because he wanted to show support for Zelensky. A lot of people say he went to Ukraine because he wanted to show, solidarity and brotherhood, and we fight the good fight, and Hollywood's with you. And okay, maybe he did do all that. He even sat down and pretended to talk. Look at this. What is President Vladimir Zelensky talking to Gaylord Fokker about? What are they doing? He's like, are you a pothead, Fokker? Ha, ha, ha. I love that. Are you in my circle of trust, Greg? Some people were saying, oh, you know what? It's like Tropic Thunder. I'm telling you, this is set up. This was a $4 million photo shoot. Ben Stiller allegedly got $4 million. That's the report online, to fly to Ukraine because, again, it's an active war zone. And Ben Stiller's not the manliest of men. And we know that because he spearheaded White Dudes for Harris. But he got $4 million to fly to Ukraine, sit down with Zelensky, wear his polo shirt, and take these promotional photos to, I guess, enhance American support for the war, or to enhance, to try to drum up more support for the Ukrainian war effort against Vladimir Putin. I mean, that is a shocking waste of funds. And the fact that Ben Stiller went willingly, that's not surprising at all. But I'll tell you this. It definitely makes me clear now on why he was heading up the White Dudes for Harris campaign, because if Donald Trump became president, all of this was going to come out into the open. And the last thing that Ben Stiller wanted was for all of this to come out into the open. He wasn't the only one. Look at Sean Penn, Academy Award winner. Sean Penn got allegedly $5 million. That's the report, to go to Vladimir Zelensky's house in Ukraine. Look at this. Sean Penn, $5 million. And he brought his Oscar with him. Now, explain to me how does that benefit the war effort? How does bringing your Academy Award all the way across the world to a war zone to meet with Vladimir Zelensky, what is that doing for the Ukrainian people? What is that doing to stop the war? Nothing, but it's putting $5 million in his bank account. Angelina Jolie reportedly got $20 million. There's so many. There's so many. There's so many out there that, and I know that the numbers are going to keep growing. There's one, hold on, let me see if I can find her. Angelina Jolie. There's somebody that I saw who had it all listed. Oh, here we go. Angelina Jolie, E! News, $20 million is what they're claiming. $20 million for Angelina Jolie amid the Russian invasion, hired to go. Here's Truth Hammer Forever, has a photo of her. I guess these are Ukrainian children, and they're very thrilled to see her, and she's very happy to see them also because she got a massive payday, according to these reports, and all of it through the USAID, which Elon Musk and Donald Trump have exposed for the organization it is. And now that Elon Musk and Donald Trump are exposing it for the organization that it is, all of the Democrats, many of whom probably were in cahoots with the bank robbers, are freaking out about it. And they do not want the truth to come out, because the truth in this scenario will not set them free. It will probably actually incarcerate them for a very long time.
This must be a coalition that grows and grows and grows. There can be no bystanders in this fight. It is time that we understand the only thing necessary for wrong to triumph is for right to do nothing.
And that's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what right is doing something. Right is doing something and wrong is losing out, and they're getting mad and they're protesting and they're yelling and they're screaming and they're talking about taking over the city.
Shut down the city!
Sorry, shutting down the city. That's what they're trying to do. Caroline Leavitt, who yesterday in the press briefing was asked a question about this, she walked in. She's bold. Right before the press briefing, we all got word about the Politico link to the USAID and how Politico, a propaganda arm of the Democrat Party that was used for a decade to try to hinder Donald Trump from becoming president, was used simply to attack Donald Trump and make sure that he would never be president again. That particular organization, Politico, they got $8 million. I mean, $8 million, that's a lot of $1 million. They got $8 million from USAID for their efforts. And Caroline Leavitt found out about it, walked into the press briefing room, and guess who was there? A reporter from Politico. And here's what she said.
So upon coming out here to the briefing room, I was made aware of the funding from USAID to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room. And I can confirm that the more than 8 million taxpayer dollars that have gone to essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico on the American taxpayers' dime will no longer be happening. The DOJ team is working on canceling those payments now. Again, this is a whole of government effort to ensure that we are going line by line when it comes to the federal government's books. And this president and his team are making decisions across the board on, do these receipts serve the interests of the American people? Is this a good use of the American taxpayers' money? If it is not, that funding will no longer be sent abroad, and American taxpayers will see significant savings because of that effort.
And we're not even talking about abroad. We're talking about right here at home. We're talking about Ben Stiller, Angelina Jolie, Sean Penn, Politico, Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton. These are all Americans. These are all people here that are getting money. From the USAID. But guess what? It's not just the Politico and their propaganda campaign. The USAID was in cahoots with, you know who? You know who? Guess. I bet you can't guess. I'll just tell you. The CIA. And Jesse Waters yesterday had Michael Schellenberg on, who explained that the CIA, you may remember this, you may or may not remember it, I'll refresh your memory. The CIA, the whistleblower who originally kicked off the impeachment process for President Donald Trump, the first impeachment, not impeachment 2.0, the very first one. Not the one that they're trying to get him on now for dastardly deeds done dirt cheap. No, this was the first one, was a CIA whistleblower. And it turns out that there is a direct link between the USAID and the CIA and their efforts to overthrow the United States government in the way of an impeachment of a sitting president.
You might forget that, the House of Representatives impeached President Trump in December of 2019. Many people may not remember that it was a CIA analyst who was left over from the Obama White House who wrote the memo that led to the impeachment. It was all based on hearsay. The person had not actually been in the room with Trump. Nonetheless, this memo that he wrote relied heavily on a report done by an organization funded by USAID. In fact, its initial founding funding, I mean, now it's tens of millions of dollars, had gone into this group called the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, a name that's not very memorable, OCCRP, but it was basically created as an extension of the State Department and then of USAID. And as you know, Jesse, this is very serious to be involved in an effort to do regime change at home, as we've been discovering as the files have come out with what Elon Musk has been doing. We know that USAID was really about regime change abroad. It was a kind of public-facing part, regime change operation like CIA, but not covert, more overt. Well, now you see a similar blowback, just like they did censorship abroad and brought censorship tools back home. They were doing this sort of thing abroad, creating a predicate essentially for Trump's impeachment. So I think it's just one of many revelations that we'll see coming out in the next few weeks.
So USAID was involved in regime change abroad and here at home.
Michael Schellenberg has a very large report, by the way, in Publix, and he also did a much larger explanation. It was very, very thorough. I kind of got lost, I'll be honest with you. But basically, what he's saying is, it's very similar to what happened with the Steele dossier. The CIA hired this organization that was funded by USAID to create this report. They had this report about Donald Trump. They had the report from the whistleblower, and they used that report to then begin the impeachment process of Donald Trump. And that report was funded by this organization that we know was created by the Democrats to funnel money to other organizations and countries and encourage regime change in places where they didn't like the sitting leaders. And one of them, it turned out to be the United States of America. It's fascinating, and it's turning out to be one of the largest scandals in history. In fact, Donald Trump on his Truth Social said something along those exact lines. He wrote, hold on, let me pull it up here, because this is not going away, by the way. This is going to be, here it is. Looks like billions of dollars have been stolen at USAID and other agencies, much of it going to the fake news media as a payoff for creating good stories about the Democrats. The left-wing rag known as Politico seems to have received $8 million. Did the New York Times receive money? Who else did? This could be the biggest scandal of them all, perhaps the biggest in history. The Democrats can't hide from this one. Too big, too dirty. So Donald Trump, and keep in mind, now has the power. He has the power to have money. In fact, he already has. Politico freaking out. They can't make their payroll because Donald Trump has frozen their assets. You've got other people out there who are freaking out because they don't have money. That Donald Trump has frozen their assets. The USAID is going to be, it's going to be dismantled if it hasn't been already. It's about as close to being dismantled without actually being dismantled as it could be. And now you've got Pam Bondi, who was just sworn in by Clarence Thomas as the Attorney General. Now that Pam Bondi's in place at the DOJ, guess what? You're going to see even more prosecutions and investigations of these people who manipulated your tax dollars and corrupted these agencies for their own personal gain.
I will restore integrity to the Justice Department, and I will fight violent crime throughout this country and throughout this world and make America safe again. Thank you.
And of course, corruption here at home. Don't forget about that one. This is not good for the Democrat Party, which already suffered big losses. Now that, first of all, they suffered the loss. And again, this is why they were fighting to protect it. This is why Joe Biden was president. This is really, listen carefully to this. This is, a lot of people don't realize that this has been going on not just since Joe Biden became president, not just for 4 years, but for decades. This began with probably the Clintons. That Bill and Hillary Clinton were the original grifters, the OGGs. They rolled into Washington, D.C., fresh from Arkansas, and they went into the White House and they said, all right, now that we're in charge, how much money can we make from this place? How much money? How much would people pay to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom? What about Whitewater? What are we about to go to? How can we create a fund so that when we leave office, we can get hundreds of millions of dollars from China and other, communist countries? How can we set ourselves up for life with just beaucoup bucks, the likes of a fortune that the likes of which no one has ever seen? And they weren't the only ones. You know who else did something similar? Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., Barack and Michelle Obama. Every Democrat leader from Bill Clinton on, Nancy Pelosi, we know about how much money she's made in the stock market. We know about how her husband Paul is apparently the stock trading genius, not just in the family, but in the entire country. He rivals Warren Buffett for his ability to foresee the future of the stock market. Come on. No one believes any of that. The Clintons set this up for everybody, for everyone in the Democrat Party. And in 2016, Donald Trump was not supposed to win. Hillary Clinton was chosen. She was going to be the leader. And if Hillary Clinton won in 2016, it would be business as usual. The USAID would continue to funnel money to Chelsea and Bill and whomever else. The Obamas would be living large. I mean, they're living pretty large now as it is, but they maybe wouldn't have been headed to divorce. Everybody involved would have been safe and secure. Their skeletons would have remained in the closet, and the cash cow would just keep milking that thing all day long, and that beautiful golden milk would just drip down into their bank accounts. It would have been fantastic. But Hillary Clinton lost. Hillary Clinton lost, and Donald Trump won. And Donald Trump said to Hillary Clinton, "You should be in jail." Donald Trump said, "You're a criminal." Donald Trump said, "I know what you and your friends are doing because I'm doing it too. I know the tax breaks that you're getting. I know how you've corrupted the system. I know everything about it, and I'm going to expose it." And Donald Trump, as soon as he became president, was impeached. Within 2 years, the first thing that they did, they got control of Congress and they impeached him. Why? Because they needed their secrets to remain secret. They needed the skeletons to remain in the closet. They needed somebody who they could control, who was also guilty of all of these horrible things, all these corrupt crimes against the United States of America. They needed somebody else in control so that they would not be exposed. And Hillary failed. Hillary couldn't get the job done. Hillary couldn't beat Donald Trump. So what'd they do? They went up to Delaware. They pulled Joe out of the closet. They dusted him off. They said, look, they pulled him out of the mothballs. They gave him a clean suit and they said, "Okay, you're running for president." And Joe said, "President." And they said, "Just leave the rest. We'll take care of it. We'll make sure you get 81 million votes. Just you sit down in the basement and try not to embarrass us." They pulled Joe Biden off of mothballs because Joe Biden had just as much dirt on him as they did. And they needed somebody that they could control. And then when Joe Biden became too much of a liability, they kicked him out and they brought in Kamala. And that's why we're back where we are now. And Donald Trump knows he's only got 4 years. Donald Trump knows if he's going to drain the swamp, he's got to pull that plug now. And he's got to get a super powered pump in there, getting all that swamp water out. And it's happening. It's happening faster than you can imagine. 17 days. And we've already exposed so much corruption, so much government waste. There's already so much anger in the Democrat Party because they are scared. They are scared of Elon Musk and Donald Trump and how they're bringing all of their dreams and their corrupt criminal organizations to an end. And it's really fun. It's really, really fun to watch. It's really fun to watch. Listen, I want to get to the girls' sports stuff because that's important and that's a good story. And you know what? And it's a kind of an upbeat story. Plus, there's some information about the nominations. If I were John Thune, I'd just recess this Senate and let Donald Trump move to recess appointments because the Democrats are just being ridiculous. They are protesting everything they're extending every vote as long as they possibly can. They've pushed Kash Patel's vote back to next week, so we won't have an FBI director for another week. It's time for recess. If I were John Thune, I would recess this Senate, I would kick everybody out, and I would let Donald Trump have at it with his recess appointments. Because clearly the Democrats are not doing what they need to do, and that is allow these appointments to go forward so that we can get back to, running the most powerful country in the world. Anyway, we'll get to that here in just a minute. Real quick, though, I did want to mention once again our sponsor, Colonial Metals Group, with our good buddy Paul Stone, who I think we're going to have back on in a couple weeks. He's always great. Make your savings bulletproof. Secure your financial future now with gold. And if you want to get a free gold guide, Colonial Metals is happy to offer you a free gold guide. The 2025 gold guide, you can get yours right now by going to freegoldguide.com/K, Kaye. That's my last name. You'll know you're in the right place because look, there's me. And there's me again. Gold has safeguarded wealth for generations, and Colonial Metals Group is my top recommendation for trusted precious metal solutions. I said that. And it's right there on their website. You'll learn how to protect and grow your retirement savings with a gold IRA. Why precious metals offer a strong defense against de-dollarization and inflation. How our safe and efficient retirement plan optimizes your assets and savings. How simple it is to safeguard your retirement tax-free and penalty-free, and how to use an IRS loophole to protect your financial future now. Plus, limited time. If you qualify, up to $7,500 in free bonus silver sent to your home or stored in a secured vault of your choosing. Imagine that, $7,500 in bonus silver if you qualify when you open an account with Colonial Metals. So go to freegoldguide.com/K. That's freegoldguide.com/KAYE. And get your free gold guide today. And like I said, we'll have Paul Stone on before too long because I always love getting him off on a tangent. He's fantastic to talk to. All right, let's talk. Should we talk about God or should we talk about girls? Let's talk about God first. Donald Trump is, he's really doing everything in his power that the people have asked him to do, he's doing. And it is bringing morals back to the White House, bringing God back to the White House, making sure that we are sticking to our founding philosophies, our constitutional, conservative, Christian philosophies that this country was founded on. And one of those things he talked about in I guess it was like a prayer breakfast today. And he was there and he was talking about how God is great and God is good. And he's going to do everything he can to protect Christians who have been under fire and prosecution and persecution and who have been investigated by the FBI and who have had the government weaponized against them. He's going to do everything he can to protect them.
And these events remind us of how blessed we are to live in a nation that has thrived for 2.5 centuries as a haven of religious freedom, although I will tell you the last 4 years have been very difficult. It would have been a very difficult thing for me to have made that statement if this speech was taking place 2 years ago. My administration is absolutely committed to defending this proud heritage, and I will always protect religious liberty.
Yeah, but Donald Trump's not just a talker, he's a doer. So he goes, I will always, always protect religious liberty. And that's any religion. It's right there in the Constitution. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom to practice. Hold on, I got it right. I got it right here. I want to make sure I always hate when I misquote the Constitution. I had a brain fart there. Here we go. It's right here in the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. There we go. Or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. All right, good. So Donald Trump is saying, look, our founding fathers thought it was so important that they put it right there in the First Amendment, the very first thing they wrote in the First Amendment. And so I'm going to do everything I can to protect our religious liberty, but I'm not just going to say it, I'm going to do it. Listen up. Here's what I got planned for today.
This week, I'm also creating the White House Faith Office, led by Pastor Paula White, who is so amazing.
And also, he's establishing, get this, a new committee that's going to be headed by Pam Bondi.
To confront such weaponization and religious persecution, today I'm signing an executive order to make our Attorney General, who's a great person, she's going to be a great Attorney General, Pam Bondi, the head of a task force, brand new, to eradicate anti-Christian bias. About time, right? Anti-Christian bias.
Yeah, and Pam Bondi, who, by the way, I've always wondered what Matt Gaetz thinks when he sees everyone so thrilled about Pam Bondi. I was like, I know, and I know he loves Pam Bondi, and I know he's supportive of Pam Bondi, but that's got to sting just a little bit, right? It's just got to sting like a little, like, ooh, that could have been me. Anyway, but she's now headed up the task force to fight political persecution. I'm sorry, religious persecution by the government. I mean, this is going to be the most formative and the coolest and the best 4 years for any conservative, Christian, capitalist, Republican American in the history of this country. And it's true. And it's not just, look, it's not just that. It's the common sense stuff too. It's the common sense stuff like keeping men out of women's sports, which Donald Trump did yesterday. And when you look at this and you say, hey, look, we got to keep these men out of women's sports, it just seems so commonsensical. But yet, and I still am baffled by this, and Donald Trump even mentioned it, he's baffled by that. He's baffled that in this day and age, in 2025, the Democrats have taken us so far left. These socialist radical lunatics have pushed decency so far to the left that you need a presidential executive order telling people it's not okay for boys to compete against girls, for men to compete against women. We needed an executive order in the Oval Office to remind people that it's not okay for a grown man to get in a boxing ring pretending to be a girl and beat up another girl who actually is one. That's what we've come to. And Donald Trump said, look, I'm going to protect these women. And he had all these girls, all these athletes there at the White House yesterday. Riley Gaines is there. You can see her in the background. And he signed. Oh, there she is. She's getting a little shout out from President Donald Trump. I mean, she has an illustrious career right now as a political activist, but that's not what she wanted to do. All she wanted to do was swim and win. And she was doing it. She was swimming and winning her entire life. And she got to the University of Kentucky and she was swimming and winning and swimming and winning. And then all of a sudden, Leah Thomas, a biological male who identified as a transgender female, started competing against her. And even though as a biological male, Leah Thomas was not a good swimmer, as a trans female, Leah Thomas all of a sudden became the best swimmer there was. Gee, I wonder why. And all of a sudden, Riley Gaines wasn't swimming and winning anymore. She was swimming and coming in second. And that kicked off this entire thing. And so Donald Trump yesterday signed this executive order in front of all these girls and for all these girls so that he could protect women's sports for the long haul. And it's not just women's sports here in the United States of America. Yes, that's a big part of it. He said, I'm going to cut off, we're going to cut off taxpayer funds to any school that decides they're going to not abide by my executive order and allow boys to compete against girls.
With my action this afternoon, we're putting every school receiving taxpayer dollars on notice that if you let men take over women's sports teams or invade your locker rooms, you will be investigated for violations of Title IX and risk your federal funding. There will be no federal funding. So this will effectively end the attack on female athletes at public K-12 schools and virtually all U.S. colleges and universities.
It's K-12 schools, it's colleges and universities, but that's not all. It's also the Olympic Games. It's international sports. In 2028, the United States of America is hosting the Olympic Games. Los Angeles, I assume, is still doing it, even though they've had some fire. I think Donald Trump will get it ready by then. But in 2028, the United States of America is hosting the Olympic Games. And Donald Trump is not going to stand for any of those shenanigans that we saw in 2024.
Marco is going to make clear to the International Olympic Committees there, and he's going to make it as clear as anybody can make it, that America categorically rejects transgender lunacy. We want them to change everything having to do with the Olympics and having to do with this absolutely ridiculous subject that we even have to talk about this subject. If you went back 10 years or 15 years and you would move forward and listen to this, you'd say, what the hell are they talking about? This is impossible. But you have people out there, Democrats, that are still totally in favor. They can't win the argument. They can't win a debate. They look like fools, and they continue to go on.
Yeah, and I think he's talking about Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett, that woman, I don't even know. That is the weirdest thing ever. Jasmine Crockett is a young woman, and she is, as far as I know, she's a woman. I think she identifies as a woman. But Jasmine Crockett is, she is just unhinged when it comes to, after Donald Trump signed this order. And again, he signed this executive order and he said, we're going to keep men out of women's sports. You would think that a young woman from Texas, Jasmine Crockett, would be thrilled. She was furious. Look what she posted on X. On National Girls and Women in Sports Day, Trump is banning trans kids from playing sports, trying to cut Title IX women's and girls athletic grants, removing references to women, female inequality on government websites. Let me be clear, this doesn't protect women. I don't know. I think all these women at the White House who gathered around President Donald Trump and gave him, lots of applause when he signed the order would think differently.
You want to do this? Watch what I do, and then I'm going to give you some pens, okay? Are you ready? What a nice picture this is, huh, Governor? You ready? We'll do a good job. Wait, let me press that. I want to make this a really good signature, because this is a big one, right? Oh, I think we have a 10. We have a 10.
God bless you, Mr. President.
Yay! Don't you love that Donald Trump grades his own signature and he gives it a 10? Oh, I think we got a 10. This is a great one. This is a 10 right here. I've signed my name on a lot of documents, but this one's probably the best that I've ever done. And it's a pop look, and all these girls love it, and they're thrilled about it, and all the women love it, and all their parents love it, and all the female athletes all over the country love it. Riley Gaines loves it. Swimmers and boxers and basketball players and volleyball players from kindergarten all the way through college are praising Donald Trump, are heralding Donald Trump. And the small handful of men who failed at sports and decided maybe I could compete as a trans woman and win something, all of those people are sad. Luckily, there's not that many of them. Plus, people who aren't female athletes like me. If you're not a female athlete, or if you don't know a female athlete, you're still thrilled about this and you think it's a great idea. And I know that because CNN's Harry Enton did a poll, and Harry Enton showed, guess what? Most Americans agree with Donald Trump saving women's sports.
I think these numbers are really illuminating on this topic because I just think there's such a clear trend among the American public. So transgender female athletes in women's sports, only 18% of the country says that they should be, in fact, allowed to participate in women's sports.
Okay, now think about that. 18% of the country thinks that trans women, quote unquote, should be allowed to participate in women's sports. Now, look at what we saw during the election. Look at what we saw during the election. During the election, Donald Trump got 77 million votes. Kamala Harris got what, 73? 72, 73. So a fairly even split, like a 53-47 split, whatever it was. I'm sure someone else has the exact numbers, but it was a little over 50%, 52, 53% that Donald Trump got, and Kamala Harris got the rest. So the voters are really in line or very close when it comes to a red-blue differentiation. But on this particular issue, it's way different.
To the opposition, I mean, my goodness gracious, 79%.
That's basically the entire country.
Really get 79% of the country to agree on anything, but they do in fact agree on the idea of opposing transgender female athletes in women's sports. But it's not just the here and now, Laura. It's not just the here and now. What we're actually seeing is a trend on this particular issue, and it's going in the direction of opposition. So take a look here. Okay, transgendered female athletes, and amongst those Americans who oppose them in women's sports. Back in 2021, it was 62%. A majority, but, not anywhere close to a ginormous majority, right? A clear majority, but not a ginormous majority. But then again, you look here in 2025, you see it at 79%. So it's not just that the majority of Americans are opposed to transgender female athletes in women's sports. It's that the opposition has become considerably larger in just the last 4 years.
That's a lie. By the way, that's a lie. I'll tell you exactly what happened. In 2021, I guarantee that you had 79, 80% of Americans oppose transgender women in women's sports. But because Joe Biden was president, and because censorship was at its peak, and because conservatives were getting doxxed and attacked and arrested and investigated and probed and harassed, anytime they made a viewpoint that was anti-establishment, and by establishment I mean anti-liberal establishment, they were swatted, they were doxxed, they were outed, they were ridiculed, they were censored, they were canceled. In 2021, any conservative who said anything that was against the mainstream media narrative of transgender ideology or women, girls and transgender women in girls sports, anyone who spoke out against the grain was evil. And a lot of people didn't want to do that. Now, all gloves are off. You are free to think and speak freely again. You are free to think with common sense. You are free to actually voice your own opinion, your actual opinion. And if you do so, you're not likely to get canceled or doxxed or attacked or swatted or any of those other things. I mean, it still happens from time to time, but people realize under Donald Trump, their freedom is truly back. And they're able to speak about what they want. It's always been, and there's never been 40% of this country that thought it was cool for men to compete as women in women's sports and beat out biological women like Riley Gaines. Nobody ever thought that. They were just too scared to say anything because the Joe Biden attack machine, funded by the USAID, with his cronies at the Politico and his cronies in social media and his cronies in mainstream media, all out there ready to pounce on any conservative who dare say otherwise. It's I'm very, very excited. Listen, we are about to kick off something that we like to call the after party. And we like to call it the after party because that's exactly what it is. We have a locals community, and our locals community is where we house our after party. It's another, I think yesterday we went for like 45 minutes, almost an hour. And basically what happens is I'm going to kick this off here in just a minute. And if you want to come and watch the after party, if you want to come and give us some comments, if you have a question for me directly, we hang out. I'll tell you a couple more stories. I'll tell you some more things, some behind the scenes things that maybe you're not privy to or that we don't share on the main podcast. Anything at all that you want to talk about, we'll talk about. It is for supporters only. But when you become a supporter of the Katriot Club, you get unfettered access to the after party. And yes, it's recorded, so you can go back and watch it later if you miss it. You'll also get other special events. There'll be other special events inside the subscribers only hub called the Katriot Club. And we also have a free sticker pack for all supporters. We're going to send you out a package of these stickers. They all came in. We're packaging them up as we speak. And you can, if you just pay shipping and handling, we'll send you the stickers, which is great. Plus, this is something which I knew was going to be a big deal, but I didn't realize how big a deal. You get a 25% off discount code for life. You get a 25% discount code for life. So basically, here's what happens. If you pay $10 a month as a supporter, which is nothing, and all that money goes right back into the show. The $10 a month that you pay as a supporter allows us to keep bringing you this free show every single day, in addition to all the other stuff. But you get that 25% off discount at the Mark Kaye shop. And look, yesterday, somebody joined for $10. They got the discount code. They went and bought a bunch of stuff, and they saved $27 on their order. So immediately they got almost 3 months of their Katriot Club membership for free. So it's really, really a fantastic deal. If you prefer to pay annually up front, you get 2 months free. So it's like $8.33 a month or something like that. Anyway, we're going to kick that off here in just a minute. So if you want to join us for the after party, if you want to join the Katriot Club, just go to katriots.com. Let me put that back up for you. Katriots.com. It's right there. Or you can, if you're watching on Rumble, there's a link that says join. You can just click that link that says join, and bada bing, bada boom, you'll be in. We're going to kick that off here in just a few minutes. To everybody else, thank you so much. Be sure you're subscribed to this channel. Be sure that you're setting those notifications. Be sure that you are making sure that whatever platform you watch Mark Kaye Saves the Republic on, or whatever podcast platform you're listening and downloading us on, make sure you tell them I want this every single day. And share it with like-minded friends. Share it with your liberty, love, and freedom defending patriotic Americans that are in your life. Let them know that we're here telling the truth. Let them know that we're here bringing you the facts. Let them know that we're here every single day. And we are continuing to fight, fight, fight so that we can all save the Republic. All right, here we go. The after party starts in 3 minutes.